Hello, my name's Ben,
And my name's Josh.
and welcome back to FPL Graduates. Welcome back to another video ahead of FPL 24-25. I've gone in and made my team ready for the season. Let's get straight in and have a look at it. Okay, so starting off in goal, and we've opted for Chelsea's keeper, Sanchez. We know that there's some rumours that Chelsea are looking to buy someone to not potentially replace him, but to challenge him and to maybe improve that Chelsea standard of play. Manchester City at home is a tough opening game, but after that, fixtures are quite decent. It's all green on the fixture difficulty index until Liverpool in game week 8. So plenty of decent fixtures there for him. Interesting to see how Chelsea will set up under their new manager. They've, of course, got so many good players. They just need a system to click for them, and they'll be really sort of contenders for minimum top 4. In a defence, we've gone fairly sort of safe with the picks there in terms of sort of defences. We've got Gabriel in there with Anderson and Konza. All three of them 30-plus starts last season, which is fantastic. I do feel that Arsenal coverage is definitely going to be needed. Saliba's going to have really, really high ownership. So one of him or Gabriel is going to be sensible. And then Anderson and Konza, they start both, well, at the moment they're starting both in my team for game week 1, but they do rotate really, really nicely alongside the Newcastle defence as well. So definitely worth considering 2 out of those 3 defences for your team. And at 4.5 million each, you cannot complain either. Josh, what are the opening thoughts on the team?
Yeah, I think it's a solid basis, one that a lot of managers have, as you alluded to, in terms of that Anderson and Konsa sort of double up. As you mentioned with Newcastle as well, all 3 of those sides rotate really nicely if you're looking for some cheap defenders in your teams. Obviously, Sanchez will be interesting. At the moment, we don't know who will be number 1. We do think it will be Sanchez unless they sign someone, but that's what pre-season is all about. We'll be able to find that out pretty quickly as we go through there. And then, Gabriel as well. Obviously, he got loads of starts last season. I'd be a bit more cautious this season, just with Calafiori coming in. They've also got Timber back now, who's going to be like a new signing. And obviously, if we go back to game week 1 last season, obviously Timber started, Gabriel was benched, and that definitely screwed a lot of managers over. So I think if you're going for the safer option, like you mentioned, Ben, I think going with Saliba is probably the easiest route.
Okay, so moving on into midfield, and we've got our first real differential of the team, Morgan Gibbs White in there. 6.5 million potentially on penalties as well for Forest. And the opening 3 fixtures are truly fantastic. Bournemouth home, Southampton away, and Wolves at home for him are really, really nice. And for a player that is guaranteed to start, guaranteed to be the focal point, got 5 goals last season, got 12 assists, was it last year as well? Like, he got a decent amount of returns for this Forest side, and he's really sort of establishing himself as the main man. In the midfield as well, we've got Eberechi Eze. I think despite Elise going, I think there's going to be sort of a decent amount of attacking output from Palace. They've got Kamada in. They're looking at getting someone like Smith Rowe in. I think that's just going to boost Eze's appeal further. I'm going to have to bear in mind, though, that Mateta's probably not likely to start in game week 1. It'll probably be Edouard. So maybe the player finishing off those chances that Eze creates isn't going to be as good, at least for the first game week. Gordon has been a lock-in in my team for, from day one, really. Great fixtures, great form towards the end of last year. You can't really go too much wrong with that. Salah's in there as well, our first big player of the team, the first premium option. I do think, it's going to be a little bit of a difficult time for Liverpool in transition from Jurgen Klopp. But as we can see there, Ipswich away and Brentford at home, the first couple is fantastic fixture. So we'll have to wait and see how Liverpool get on in pre-season. I'm fairly confident Salah's going to be in there. And then to round off the midfield, we've got Christopher and Nkunku. Again, a bit more of a differential. 13% owned at the time of recording. At 6.5 million, he could be a massive, massive bargain if he keeps fit. That's the key really with him. If he can keep fit, then he's going to be fantastic in terms of an option. Also got to bear in mind that Chelsea have a lot of attacking players, so could be prone to a bit of rotation as well. Josh, thoughts on the midfield?
Yeah, I think overall it's really decent. Like you mentioned, there's those 2 6.5 mids. There's quite a few options at that price, and even a little bit cheaper as well. So it's quite a flexible price point, which is always nice. You can sort of hop on who maybe performs the best at the start of the season. I think, for Nkunku, for me, I think he's a big risk going into the start of the season. Probably one to keep an eye on over pre-season. Yes, his price point is really good compared to the likes of Cole Palmer, but you know what you're going to get with Cole Palmer. You're getting penalties, you're getting 90 minutes every single game. I'm not sure Nkunku can offer that. So, yeah, that's one to sort of bear in mind. Gibbs White as well, I think penalty appeal probably lessens a bit with Awoniyi not going to be fit for the start of the season. We've got Chris Wood obviously starting up top for them. So other than that, though, he is their main man and their big talismanic figure. So obviously it will be on all set pieces and stuff like that. So yeah, a really nice option there. As you say, Anthony Gordon, a lot of managers would have him. I'd be surprised if not a lot of managers have a triple up on Newcastle to start the season. Their first two fixtures are unbelievable, and as we mentioned with the defence, you can sort of rotate a defender in and out as well. So really nice there. And then finally, the premium Mo Salah. Obviously, the fixtures are there for Liverpool. They've got the best fixtures to start the season. It's just whether or not they can sort of kick on under Arne Slot. Obviously, there's all the memes about them losing 1-0 against Preston in the first game of pre-season, but I'm sure they're not going to be that bad, and they will still play to a really good level. It's the same team that Klopp had, and I think that they'll definitely perform somewhat. It's just whether it's going to be worth that 12.5 million.
Yeah, so definitely one to bear in mind then. And moving on to the strike force, we've gone for two up top. Alexander Isak and Erling Haaland. Both of them have been in my draft from minute one, just like Gordon, haven't left since. Alexander Isak's going to be pretty much the highest owned striker, potentially. With Callum Wilson being out for the start of the season, he's going to be the main man up top for Newcastle. Fantastic first couple of fixtures. I think you really do need to attack those going into the season. And Erling Haaland, of course, yes, he's at a high price point. Yes, a lot of managers are concerned about how high he is in terms of price, but he's a man who breaks goal scoring records, breaks FPL records, averages 250 points a season since he's come in. Not someone that I'm willing to go without. What are your thoughts, Josh?
Yeah, no, I think we'll see a lot of these two in a lot of teams to start the season. Obviously, Isak more so for the fixtures, but equally he had a really, really impressive campaign last season and was in a lot of teams last season too. And yeah, like you mentioned with Erling Haaland, people are going crazy. It's like, why do you have Erling Haaland? As if he hasn't I think he's got 76 goals and assists in 66 games over his 2 seasons in the Premier League. It's like, who else in this game can get you a goal contribution every single game? It's like him, maybe Mo Salah as well. It's absolutely crazy. He is expensive, but I think you can definitely, like you've shown here, get both of them in there and have a solid team around.
Yeah, a lot of people looking at Haaland from last season saying, so many players got a few more points, but don't think any player over the last 2 seasons has averaged 6.3 points a game.
Yeah, and he was injured as well, weren't he, for a good month or so. So, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer to start the season, especially, I know Chelsea's not great, but then he got Ipswich at home game week 2. Who are you going to want to captain other than Erling Haaland that week?
Okay, so moving on into the bench, and with this team, I've actually got 0.5 million in the bank, so if I wanted to upgrade here, I potentially could, one of the defenders to a 4.5 potentially. But in goal, we've got Turner. There's no standout options really at 4 million. They've sort of priced us out of being able to do the 4.54 million strategy this year. I could potentially sort of upgrade it if, the risk of Sanchez heightens, or there's other options that sort of come out that are a bit more appealing. In the defence then, on the bench, we've got Barco from Brighton, who will start the season at left wing back. Obviously, Estepinian is out injured, and there's not too many other attacking options like him, so I think he'll get his breakthrough. Obviously, slight element of risk there with the unknowns, but we will learn a lot more throughout pre-season. Howard Bellis is in there from Southampton at 4 million. Again, not expecting too many clean sheets, but game weeks 2 and 3, his fixtures aren't too bad anyway, so worth the risk of playing him, just in case Southampton do manage to keep that clean sheet. Forest home, Brentford away in 2 and 3. Yeah, not expecting too much. I could potentially move it to a different Southampton defender because his ownership is quite high. I anticipate managers will sort of transfer him out and lose patience within the first 5 or 6 game weeks. So that may change to someone who is a little bit more low owned. With all of these sort of bench options that are really low priced, and especially with this strategy here, I definitely recommend, if you've got 2 options, go with the lower ownership option, because it means you're just less likely to lose money if they do go down. And then up front, we've got Freddie Ladapo. from Ipswich. Again, don't expect him to play too much. He's like 2% owned, so don't expect his price to sort of go down too much in the opening weeks of the season. And it's literally just a slot to fill that third place on the bench.
And so that wraps up Ben's first draft in FPL so far this season. A Haaland and a Salah draft for you straight away, straight off the bat. You love to see it. Let us know what you think about that draft in the comments. Do you think it's worth spreading the funds a little bit and removing one of them to get a more well-rounded team? Or do you think this is the way to play with two of the best premium assets in the game?
Yeah, definitely. 2 premiums, but not a lot on the bench. We'll have to see about that. And yeah, as always, I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
See you guys
later. Have a good pre-season, everyone.
So you may rise, but you'll never make me wanna stick around you.